This is Lord Ahriman of Dark Funeral, and you're watching Richard the Metal Fan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Episode 297 of Richard Metal Fan Interviews, calling from Zoom. And after 2 years, I have round two with the man, the legend himself, Lord Ahriman of Dark Funeral. So, how are you doing today, man? It's so great to be able to talk with you again.
I'm doing pretty all right. Busy days now, but
Yeah,
I'm okay.
that's good to hear. So kind of want to talk about today because you recently did a reissue or re-record of the first self-titled Dark Funeral EP. So, what made you guys to decide to like re-record like your first EP?
Well, it came after the original plan was to just reissue it as the original version. But then over the years, we realized that it would be cool to, also give something, more than just uh, the original versions. Well, of course, they are good as they are, but this was also a way for us to, bind together the past with the present. Um, to introduce the newer fans to where the band come from, a little bit more of our history and so on. Yeah, so that's kind of the main reasons.
All right. All right. And being as it has been like 30 years since the first Dark Funeral EP, do you have like a certain like different viewpoint about it now as opposed to when you first released it 30 years ago?
Uh, well, I think it's really good for what it is, from that time. But as a songwriter, and as just as a human being, you know you move forward in your life and want to do different things. And I don't really like to live in the past. I rather look into the future and see what I can, you know, try to follow my heart and soul where I am at this point and where I want to go, instead of trying to, yeah, live in the past. Uh, I've never been that kind of guy.
Right. And of course, last year was, of course, 30 years since the formation of Dark Funeral as a band. You got to think about it, Lord Armand. Nearly 30 years of Dark Funeral all as a band. And like, did you kind of like two questions in one? Like, did you think that you guys would be around for like over 30 years? And is there like anything else with Dark Funeral that you would still like to achieve?
Oh, the list is long. I mean, if I wasn't hungry and still had the inspiration to continue to develop my songwriting skills, trying to find new twists and turns in the music I write, and then I would quit. But I have so many ideas and lots of stuff I want to achieve. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, with the talking about like the new re-release, like of course you have like a different lineup on on the new re-record as opposed to like the old re-record. When it came to like making like like this re-record, did you have to like the rest of the guys to sort of like stick to how it was on the original, or did you want them to sort of like add like sort of like a their own kind of like spin to the songs?
well, at first I told everybody to analyze the songs, which they already had. I didn't, I work with really professional guys these days, so some stuff make it easy for me. And it felt like everybody had done their lesson before we even, got together and start talking about it. And I think, I didn't really have to say much. The only thing that, we talked about things, and I said, here's a few things that didn't turn out the way I had in mind when we did it, back in the day. So maybe we can work on it this time. It was more those kind of things. But I think everybody, they had done their lesson and they didn't want to fuck this up, so they had analyzed the songs and they wanted to keep it really honest and true, to the original. But still, 30 years later, you still have to, put in the present time into the recording and the production and playing.
Yeah. Yeah, and with sort of like the current lineup, did they sort of like bring sort of like new elements into like Dark Funeral that they didn't have previously?
What do you mean?
in terms of like on like the new re-record, did they sort of like add like some new parts and everything?
Also in the old songs.
Yeah.
No, the only thing we did, there was a few songs that kind of didn't end up in the final mix on the original recording that I felt like maybe, you know, work on that and try to bring forth those stuff that were in the songs originally, but which you hardly can hear on the original release. So I felt like, yeah, maybe we, bring them up a little bit more in the mix and yeah, and some of those stuffs are probably, to those who have followed us ever since the first recording. They're like, wow, what's this? This is new. But it's really not new. It's just something that were original there, but didn't really end up the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of thing, but it was many of these things, came when we finally were in the studio and when we start working on the songs. Then a lot of things start popping up in my head that this is the way it should have been also back in the day, and this is stuff that we can improve and things like that. Also, a lot of stuff that I fucked up. You know, I felt like I really need to do this much better this time. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, and in terms of like also playing like these old songs live, do you like execute them like differently live as opposed to record like when you recorded them?
Slightly, but generally, ever since the beginning, I've always been pushing that what we are recording in the studio have to be, live, but still the studio, the versions. We shouldn't add too much stuff that we can't bring live on stage, since we've always been a live band. So for me, it's always been important to keep it real in the studio so we can, make it real live also.
All right. And kind of want to talk about some other anniversaries because this year does also mark 15 years of Angelus Exuro Pro Externus. So I'm always curious about like that album in particular. So what was sort of like the mind frame going into that? Because I feel like at that point, and of course with the album before that, Totis Sanctus, I feel like that kind of like almost in a way sort of like solidified like the Dark Funeral sound. I mean, you've had like the sound, but I feel like that is where you kind of like found yourselves in a way.
I don't know, ever since, the Vobiscum, for me, the Vobiscum Tanas was like a turning point where I ended up being like the main songwriter, basically all myself. Uh, and one of the reasons was that we had obviously different, ideas where we wanted to bring the band. But I already had a vision where I wanted to go with the music. And on that album, I could really bring in the first step of what I had in mind, the more epic orchestral kind of feel, but still very raw black metal. And create those feelings and atmospheric part with the guitar instead of using keyboards and stuff like some other bands started working on at that time. And for every record, I try to improve that part, but also work on I always try to find a better balance between atmospheric part, melodies, and raw more raw parts. And I don't think that's something I still um, work on, and I'm still trying to find a perfect balance. But also you get different ideas for every record. You feel like you always want to bring in something new. You always get new ideas that you want to bring into the music. So for the last, for that time, I was like, I wanted it super fast, but still bring more melodies into the music, more, classical, orchestral kind of melodies in hyperspeed, if you will. So yeah, but I'm still, trying to work on that.
Yeah.
But as you said, maybe that. I mean, for me, it's like different. Every record have a new touch that I want to bring in. What I have in mind, where I want to keep on bringing my way of writing music.
Yeah. And another
Yeah.
anniversary, because next year will also mark 20 years of Atira Totis Sanctus. And I thought that, in my opinion, that's like a very underrated Dark Funeral album. Like, I don't think really nobody ever really talks about that album because it has like 6 songs like King Antichrist, title track, 666 Voices Inside, and even Atrium Regina. So I'm always curious about the thought process going into making that album.
Well, at that time, I guess I had a writer lock, and everybody was kind of stressing me. You guys need to get the new album together, and I can never work under those circumstances. Most people know that by now. Record companies, and whoever I work with, I'm very open. This is the way I work. Take it or leave it. I can't force anything. It doesn't work for me. But I still had lots of ideas in my head, but I couldn't get I couldn't really get that peace in my soul to actually sit down and really work on the songs and the riffs I had. So I told everybody, okay, let's do it this way. We book the studio and we write the record in the studio with a producer. So we spent 9 weeks. That's the only record we I came into the studio with lots of material, but no real songs together, just parts. So that album came into the studio. I was putting the alarm clock up like 7 o'clock in the morning, start playing guitar, coming up with ideas. Was working together with the producer and Shrek Mall the whole fucking day. And when we finished from maybe 10 in the evening, stayed up a couple of hours, still trying to, get some new riff together and that we could work on the next day. And it was an interesting time and interesting experience, but I wouldn't do that again. Now I got my home studio, I can sit there, all relaxed.
More convenient for you.
Also that, but not only that, it's like I can work on a part for several weeks, even months sometimes. And I can just, if I have a writer block one day, I put it on the loop and just have it on in the background, trying to figure out what I can do. And I can work in a whole different way and really, go more in depth on everything, analyze everything. Is this really good, and things like that. And I twist and turn and, and some stuff just, I get a really good flow and it's just flying out ideas. But, I really need to be in a special place when I write music. I can't have too much distraction around me and have people call me every 5 minutes and putting up lots of crazy demands. I need to do this and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
Yeah,
and of course, I also saw that like you're starting to work on the next Dark Funeral album. So what's like the current status with that?
Well, I have small ideas for maybe 9 or 10 songs. And one thing that I think I mentioned it quite a lot on the last record. One of the things on the last record was that I wanted to, get it more groovy, work more with the drums, more drum rhythms and stuff like that. And on the new stuff, it's even more drums than before. Also weird, syncopated, rhythms and stuff like that. Currently, I'm working on this kind of 6/8 melodies and parts that are with everything built from the drums, and it's I find it really inspiring.
Yeah.
But I don't know where it's gonna end up in the end. I just record all the ideas I get, and some of the stuff sounds fucking absolutely killer, and some stuff I need to keep on working on. The ideas are good, but it's not really there. So there's still a lot of work, but I start getting quite some cool ideas.
Yeah. And do you think with those ideas, like musically, will you just continue in the same vein as We Are the Apocalypse, or will you try something like new or different that Dark Funeral hasn't done before?
Uh, it's up to the listener. I mean, for me, it's, even the smallest step for me can feel like a big fucking new step, new direction. But then the listener is like, oh, that sounds just like before. So it's difficult to know how the listener is going to react. But I got to follow my heart and soul, and what inspires me is what's how it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, but I feel good about the stuff that I've written. Um, I have a mid-tempo song which maybe is a little bit different from Dark Funeral. It's like the whole skeleton is done, but I need to, there's a few adjustments I need to do, and obviously vocals. But I got ideas for that. I just like the dynamic in that song. I think that's what I like the most. That's also one thing I try to improve, get more dynamics in the song. And mid-tempos, for me, mid-tempos are kind of tricky to get a good dynamic and still, driving force going on all the time that I like. But this one is, I really like it. It's a little bit different. We'll see if it turns up on the record or not.
All right. All right. And another question I wanted to ask you in terms of your guitar playing. I think I might have asked this the last time we spoke, because I feel like Dark Funeral's music has an emphasis on both rhythm and melody. So I'm always curious, like if you have like a knowledge in like theory, like do you know like what scales that you're playing in terms of like playing and also like the creation of the songs?
I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. I just work with notes that come up in my head. That's all I know.
All right. And then
If you ask me the tuning on a guitar, every note on every string, I know we play in D sharp. That's pretty much my music theory right there.
all right. And then the final question I wanted to ask you is talking about your gear and your guitar sound, because I feel like Dark Funeral has a really sick guitar tone. And I'm always curious about like your setup in terms of like recording and playing live. I know I see you got like the BC Rich Warlocks in the background. So I'm always curious about like your your setup in terms of like guitar strings, amps and pedals and stuff.
Well, I'm playing. We all play ESP guitars and basses now, and I have Blackouts pickups, and we are all digital live. In the studio, we go analog, mixed analog with digital, obviously, but live is all digital these days, and we are still working on that. Me and Jacques Moll was sitting in the rehearsal room a couple of days ago, was tweaking the sound before the next couple of shows on the US tour. I felt like I needed to improve my sound a little bit more, and I actually managed to tweak it better than it was. I'm not sure if it's one thing how it sounds in the rehearsal room. I got to try it at the venue, so we'll see. But at least it's better than before. So I'm actually really looking forward to plug in and play with the new sound.
All right. And so kind of like in the end to sort of wrap things up, what's next for Dark Funeral in terms of touring? I know you got that awesome tour with Gore and Squid Pisser coming up, which I already got my ticket and VIP for the show in Atlanta. And there's just anything else with Dark Funeral role in terms of like touring that you're allowed to plug?
Yeah, well, next weekend we are going to France and Greece, and then we go home for a bit over a week, and then we fly over to the US and start. We start with 1 week headline shows before we team up with War and Squid Pisser. And yeah, well, everybody knows how much we love touring the US. That's why we've been touring the US so much the last couple of years. And we're all looking forward to come back.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, and this is also going to be interesting because this is the first tour we're gonna, we start playing with the in-ear system and click tracks, so it feels like everything is stepping up. You know, we play better, and everything is just getting better. We're one of those bands that's always trying to improve. And looking on the response we got on the festivals this summer when we start, experimenting with click tracks and in-ear system, everybody said that we're definitely leveled up. So it's going to be interesting to be on an actual tour when we can, have proper sound check and work on it a little bit more and really get into it. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I feel like there's always, ways to improve everything. And this is a big step for us, I think.
Yeah.
So if you think we were good before, yeah, we're gonna fucking annihilate.
Yeah, unleash hell.
Annihilate you this time.
Oh
That's
yeah,
for sure.
totally.
Oh, but it feels really good. We don't have to worry about shitty monitor sound or stuff like that. And that really makes a difference.
Yeah, deliver a good fucking show.
Yeah, I mean, when you grow as a band, you have more responsibility. I always say that, but that's the fact. And you need to level up. As simple as that. Not only for the crowd, but I have this drive force, that I can't just stagnate. I need to. If I don't feel like I can do things better, then I would quit. And it comes with the songwriting as much as it comes playing live and bringing a fucking killer show to the crowd. There's so many things that I always feel like there's always space for improvement. And this is, as I said, this for me is a big step for us, I think. But you will notice we're much better now than ever. It's just going to get better. And this also, one of the main reason, not only because we have to play by click, because most people thought we already did. But
yeah, I thought you did for a long time.
Yeah, many big bands, come out to the shows are like, so how's the click you're playing on? Dude, we're just using the monitors. But this also, we want to level up on the production side too. And this gives us more, space to, program lights, pyro, and all that kind of stuff, and I have millions of these for that. So we're in the early step of working on that. So
yeah, so
everything feels very inspiring.
Totally. So thank you, Lord Ahriman, for this interview. It was great to be able to chat with you again. It's just any final words you want to say to the viewers that are watching this to close this out?
Well, October, November, we're back in the US. Make sure to get your ticket and we'll see you. It's going to be a killer fucking tour. So don't miss it.
Awesome. So everybody, Lord Ahriman from Dark Funeral. We'll see you next time.